Okay, in this assignment, we're going to be using fonts, of course, much like in the previous assignment. So I wanted to show you the website I recommend if you wanted to download more fonts. That's dafont.com, DAFONT.com. And the reason that I like dafont.com is because it has some filters that allow you to ensure that you're selecting fonts that you can use for commercial reuse. Also has how to install a font, and it has additional details in the help section, so you can look those up and work through that. Your font installation process is going to be different depending on your operating system and sometimes depending on the version of the Adobe product you're using. So I recommend people just Google it. And the reason I say this is one time across email, a student was trying to install a font and kept emailing me. We had back and forth that lasted for several days. And the end result was they said, never mind, I just Googled it and it worked the first time. So just Google it. I'm not in a position to walk you through how to do maintenance on your computer. Just Google it and you'll be able to walk through. Now, that's not to say you have to download a font. You do not. The fonts that come on your system should be perfectly acceptable for this assignment. So don't even worry about it. However, if you're looking through them and you go, none of these are quite right, dafont.com is one of my favorite places to go and get fonts. For example, if we wanted a Western style font, then we'd be able to go in and select those. You may need to refresh if you happen to access it at a bad time and get in. You have access to your fonts, but more importantly, you have access to something called More Options. Inside of More Options, you can choose what kind of font that you'd like. For example, 100% free, which would be what we'd be after. You also have public domain, 100% free, and yeah, those will be the two that you want access to. Notice by checking 100% free, we'll check both of them, and then you'll need to submit what you're after, and it will list all of the ones that are completely free for you to use for whatever you want to use it for. Now, on that note, another nice feature of Dafont is that you can go in and put in your own preview. If you want something that looks good in a specific word. And voila, it will update all of them so that it says whatever you're after. So from there, you can download your font and install it for use. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a Techno style font. And I'm just going to make sure that it's free for reuse. And I'm going to get rid of that so that we don't have this is some text in this case, so we can actually see what these are. And let's say we wanted, let's see, let's do, oh, there's so many good ones. Let's do this one. We'll download it and we will save this. And it should be compressed, so you'll need to unzip it. So in my case, I'm on a Windows 10 machine and I have a program called 7-Zip, which allows me to do all sorts of good extraction, but just right-clicking allows me to do something like extract. If I were to do it, I'm going to right drag and we'll limit the options so I can get right to what I need. And we will extract it. Now, notice that, what was the name of that one? It was the Karmatic Arcade. Is not currently a font that I have available. If I were to go to the text tool and go under K. In fact, there is no K, so this will be easy to spot. I'm going to quit Photoshop, so it should detect the font correctly. We have this expanded, and I'm going to right-click since I'm in this particular version of Windows 10. Again, check the font's instructions. I'm going to install this. If you're overly cautious, scan it for viruses, make sure everything's in the clear. I don't want you guys to install something that's shady and causes you problems. I personally have not had issues with Dafont, but it never hurts to be on the cautious side. now that we've installed it, let me open up Photoshop. And hopefully we now have Chromatic Arcade ready to be used. And so we should be good to go. We may want to grab any other kinds of fonts that seem like it might be good, like Blade Runner and Quantum seem like they would go well together. And for a fun experiment, let's not shut off Photoshop this time. Now let's see if Photoshop is smart enough to be able to install these fonts. Now, keep track of these fonts. You may want to bring these Photoshop files somewhere, either on a flash drive or burn them to a CD or put them up on the cloud somewhere. Put the fonts with it so that you can do edits if you want. That way you'll have access to it without having to rely on DaFont. As we saw in this video, DaFont went down for maintenance, so you never know when that will happen or how long it will be. But if you have a copy of your font where you can get to it, no matter what computer you're on, you can just install that font and go, which is fine because these are free fonts. And we made sure of that through the preferences or through the advanced options when we got the font. And we need, that was the Blade Runner, I believe. Blade Runner, and so we want the Quantico, the Quantum one, which I may not have extracted. All right, let's see if these get picked up. Okay. They should now, if Photoshop is smart, both pick up. In all likelihood, we have to close and reopen though. No, it's smart enough now. It's able to stay open. On the safe side, I would not install fonts while Photoshop is open. Now, if you're on a Macintosh computer, depending on the operating system, you may need to look up different instructions because every version of the Mac OS has a slightly different version to it. Right now, you can double click the file and use the install font button. They also have installations for other versions, what version of Mac, which version of PC you have. So very useful tool, all under dafont.com. Let's go ahead and play around now that we've got these new fonts. I'll see you in the next video.